Getting into a franchise costs a lot more than you can imagine. For me to get into one of my franchises, $450,000 just for the fit out. On top of that, I needed a leasing agent fee of $10,000. On top of that, I needed a design fee of $6,000. Then I needed legal fees, which came up to $20,000. You're about $500,000 in the hole before you even open your door. So you better know what you're doing. You better know what kind of franchise you're picking. So not all franchises are created the same. There are some actually genuinely good franchises you can be a part of. There are franchises that act professional and are professional throughout their journey to actually support their franchisees. Now, the type of franchise you're going to join depends on the type of industry that you're interested in. There are fast food franchises, there are automotive franchises, there are supplement franchises like the one that I'm a part of, or was a part of, I should say. And the type of franchise you're going to join is naturally the type of franchise that you have an interest in the industry in. There are some of you that buy franchises as investments and you hope that they're going to grow based on what the franchisee tells you. So there's going to be a segment just about that because it's very important to understand the difference between an owner-operator franchise model and then a investor franchise model. They kind of diverge into two different things. It's very important for you to understand what kind of franchise model you're walking into, because if it's an owner-operator franchise model, very, very different. So the franchise model that I was a part of was a interesting case in franchising. Now, we know franchises like McDonald's, 7-Eleven, they run a very tight ship. They make sure the marketing is consistent. They make sure their branding is consistent. They make sure if you walk into McDonald's anywhere, let's say in Australia, you're going to have the same experience of the food. It's all the same, right? Where certain franchises can become dangerous is the smaller franchises that act as if they're a family business, but at the same time, they're a corporate company. So I want you guys to really pay attention to this next line because it's going to define your choice. If a franchise wants to be a small family business franchise and a corporate entity franchise at the same time, you're going to get the negatives of the family business and you're going to get the negatives of the corporate business. Do not join this type of franchise because they haven't worked out what kind of business they want to be as, and usually they take all the best stuff away from both and leave you with the negatives. And that was my experience, right? And I want you to understand how a business like that will always make it difficult for the franchisee to grow rather than for you to flourish and prosper as you should, right? So the good thing when it comes to a corporate entity franchise, let's say like a Anytime Fitness, really great franchise, really good owner operator models. Many people make a lot of good money from it. It's one of the fastest growing franchises in the world. That's because it's consistent in the way it operates. With other franchises, they tend to kind of leave you alone and just keep charging for things and then start acting like a dictatorship down the line. And that's the problem, because if you start joining these type of franchises where they effectively don't help you, they give you the name, they own your client list, they own your lease, you don't end up owning a business. You're renting a job. And that's where some of these smaller franchises come into play. They say to you, hey, listen, we're gonna give you these keys, but you're gonna put the lease up. So you're not gonna own the lease. We're gonna own the lease, but you need to put your bank guarantee. Now, if you don't know what a bank guarantee is, it's basically a lump sum for money which you give to the place where you're leasing, and it stays as a security deposit against your lease, and you get it back at the end of your lease. Now, here's the problem. Let's say you need to put that money up, but they own the lease. So you've just basically put capital up that's going to be locked away for the next 5 years or 10 years or however long you're staying in this location, and they get their name on the lease, which is a huge problem because that means effectively at any given time, if you do something that they don't like, or if you don't, go down the road they want you to go down, or if there's some sort of dispute, they have the ability, to kick you out. Furthermore, you're not operating under your own business name. So you are operating under their business. So they own the face image of the franchise. So you don't own the lease, you don't own the face image. Second part of the problem. Third part of the problem is Usually there's a clause where you do not own the database. So if you don't own the database, which is your customers, you don't own the lease, you don't own the name on the door, but you're paying all the bills and you're paying a franchise fee on top. Question is, why would you sign up to that kind of franchise? Usually the answer is, well, it's a proven business model and it does what it does and we've seen it work. And this is where it comes into the owner operator franchise versus the investor franchise. If they can prove to you that as a investor, they're able to handle the hiring, the firing, the legal, the marketing, stocking, inventory, replenishments, they have an area manager that's able to make sure the staff are doing their job. They handle the P&Ls. Then, yeah, and if they can show you there's a profit out of all this after X amount of years, the it's not a bad idea. The problem is when they make a bunch of promises, but they don't show you those outcomes against other franchises. They show you against their own corporate stores, and that's a huge difference too. Because usually when a corporate store they have their own stock which they sell to themselves and they're able to obviously make bigger margins to buff themselves, and they obviously don't have a franchise fee for themselves. In some cases they do, but it's an accounting trick, right? So you got to be very careful as to what kind of franchise model you're walking into. Now, me personally, in the supplement space, I don't think you should be joining a franchise in the supplement space. I think that's one of the silliest things you can probably do, because your your margins are already really tight. You're having to sell home brands. You're basically at the mercy of the franchisee, and you're not able to get deals that pretty much everyone else does. And you're competing against your own franchise in many cases because they don't allow you to have websites or they don't allow you to have a digital presence. So it's a real hamstring, really. So yeah, guys, my take on franchises is if you're gonna join one, generally speaking, franchises, do not join a supplement franchise. I think that's at the D tier. It's one of the worst ones you can join. Some of the better ones are the 7-Elevens, because I actually know people that are in the 7-Eleven space, and they really do look after after their franchisees. They make sure they have a good business running. They have business mentorship programs. They make sure the whole process is a walkthrough, and most of them are generally profitable, and they have a really good vetting system on which franchise or which franchisee joins the network. So they have a really good team of people that actually come into the business and are more business minded. So yeah, joining franchises is tricky. If you're an investor, choose something like McDonald's, a KFC, 7-Eleven, that type of thing. Do not join a supplement franchise under any circumstances at all. And look, just for the sake of clarity, I am not saying anything bad against any specific franchise. This is an experience from my learnings, how I have realized franchises work. And I just want you guys to understand that there are pros and cons to certain things, right? And the pros and the cons for my experiences were more cons. And that's just the reality of it, because my P&Ls were reflective of that. And when it came to now selling for franchises, the value of the sell of a supplement store franchise is significantly less. If I had an independent store under my own name, I would have been able to sell it for more, because once again, guys, own the database, own the name of the door, right? You have something to sell. You have a website, you have this, you have that, right? When it comes to owning a supplement store franchise, you don't really own anything. You've rented a job and you've built it up, and then you know there's so many things that you can do to devalue that along the way, or the environment can. So that's why I think owning a franchise is under a supplement store is not the best. When it comes to what kind of money you can expect to make from a franchise in the supplement space, look, certain times it really depends on where you put your store. That's the first and most important thing. What kind of environment are you positioning yourself? Specifically for Australia, the supplement store space is overly saturated, so it's not a good idea to put a supplement store anywhere in a CBD location, anywhere in a metropolitan location. I personally know people that are closing theirs down or make almost no money on a daily basis, yet have really high rental fees. And this is just based on some of the conversations I've had in the last couple of weeks, even. So it's very, very difficult for them to survive. And look, you also have to kind of put it against the economic climate. The climate right now in Australia is it's very tense. You have cost of living crisis. You had, COVID really screwed up a lot of businesses. So there's a lot of outside factors, but these outside factors compiled with the oversaturation and then the presence of online, you're gonna have a bad time, right? So you're better off opening a uh, a fast food franchise. Quite frankly, you're gonna make more money. And when it comes to getting into business, my golden advice for people getting into business, get into business for yourself in a way that you control the outcomes. You control the website, you control the customer list, you control the database, you control all of it because you have something to sell at the end of it if it's successful. If you're joining someone else's vision, unless you have a some sort of alternative means of making money within that franchise model. Like, let's say, for example, you want to join a fast food franchise, and for whatever reason, you say, "Hey, I want to sign sign 5 different stores, but you need to buy my bread." Like, yeah, it makes sense, but unless you have some sort of like alternative arrangement that really will net you more money from the alternative arrangement, consider what your P&Ls are, consider if you're going to be an owner operator, or consider if you're going to be an investor, and then work out what your margins is and work out who's actually going to be doing the work. What happens when shit goes downhill? What happens when your workers don't come in? Do they have a plan for that? Do they have some sort of alternative area manager who can jump in if someone's not coming to work? What is the plan, right? So all these things are really important, guys. And this video is really much off the cuff. I don't want to edit it too much or give you guys too many jump cuts. This is all stuff I've personally experienced, and yeah, and make sure you guys are joining a franchise where they've chosen if they want to be a family business style franchise or if they want to be a corporate franchise. Because here's the thing: a lot of people think like, oh, family business is amazing, blah blah blah. Trust me, when it comes down to it, I would actually rather the corporate entities nowadays because there's a system. They actually are afraid of what happens to their reputation, and you can kind of work with them on certain things because there's a robotic way of getting things done, right? With the family stuff, it's legal, lawyers, this, that, blah, blah, blah. It's a pain in the ass. Now, I'm not saying all family franchises like that, but look, it's a long day. It's a really long day. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, you know what to do. Leave a like, leave a subscribe. Any questions about franchising, please put it down below. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. You're on Volker's channel.